Welcome back to the show, everyone. My name is Melvin Malanga, and today's conversation sits right at the center of where I spend most of my professional time. It's the intersection between AI insurance and the African customer. My guest today is Liza Maru, Head of Innovation at Britam Connect, a Britam inclusive insurance subsidiary. Liza is an actuary by training, and she spent the last several years quietly building what is now one of the largest inclusive insurance portfolios in the continent, with 2.5 million customers and counting. We're going to talk about Britam Lea Mama, maternal health insurance product that uses AI to support pregnant women for enrollment through delivery. We also are going into talk about Mafuriko, East Africa's first flooding insurance product, the partnership that make any of these works and actually uh, take what it makes to have inclusive insurance commercially viable. Liza, welcome to the show. Really excited to have you.
Thank you, Melvin. Pleasure to see you and interact today.
Yeah. So it's good to have you and to be able to talk about this. So what I'll do is just jump directly into the questions. So before we get into the specific of the questions, I'll want to start with something almost philosophical in terms of how it looks like. So the phrase that gets used a lot in our industry is inclusive insurance. And
Mhm.
I'm not always sure people mean the same thing when they say it. So when you talk about inclusive insurance in Africa, what does that actually look like in practice? And who's the customer? And what are they buying exactly?
Okay, so inclusive insurance, it's an interesting concept because it sits in the intersection between the commercial aspect, but also the impact and reach. Traditionally, insurance has always been tailored and developed for the rich or the upper middle class. So if you look at the way the product is priced, the way even the payments are structured, the way the benefits are set, then it's really targeting people who sit on the higher level of the pyramid. But inclusive insurance tries and target this bottom of the pyramid and the middle section. So this is the low and middle income households, and how it's different from the traditional insurance that it's more affordable, it's flexible, and it's more accessible. So you're leveraging on different forms. You're technically trying to meet the client where they're at for you to be able to get their business. Uh, in terms of who we sell this to, think of your ordinary citizen, or as we say in Kenya, common mwananchi. So this is your boda person. This is the informal worker that you know who goes to Mjengo every day. This is the smallholder farmer who has like a tea bush somewhere or has crops on a 1 acre field. Those are the people who we are targeting with these products.
Okay. That's a great framing, and thank you for that. So it's out there, it's clear. We now know what exactly inclusive insurance is. Basically, it's to empower people that maybe to reframe it, just to empower people that maybe cannot access insurance on their own. So we're looking into that. So that is really helping the society to get people get more cover, because we know right now people who are covered and people who are not covered, the people who are not covered are more. So thank you for that. Britam Inclusive Insurance portfolio has grown to 2.5 million. So congratulations for that, by the way. So you have 2.5 million
Thank you.
customers, and you're the one leading this charge to be able to do this. So for me, just like to understand, so what has the journey looked like, and what has been the biggest driver for that growth? Because it's not an easy thing to do.
Yeah, so Britam got into the inclusive insurance space about 18 years ago. And it was very simple. I would say accidental. Um, People were pursuing, our normal agents are pursuing a partner, which is the Kenya Tea Development Authority. And they were trying to get to insure their machinery and their staff. But then their partner was like, we have these farmers who always have these challenges like unfortunate death in their family. There's the issues of health. What can you really do as an insurer to support these farmers. And they issued that as an ultimatum for Britam to be able to get the other larger businesses. So Britam went back to the drawing books and crafted a very simple life and health cover. And weirdly, within the first 3 months, we had gotten 30,000 signups. So what happened is that the way the company had been structured then, it really didn't have the infrastructure to be able to serve these 30,000 customers instantly. So they had to set a separate unit to serve this, and that's how Britam Microinsurance, which is the inclusive insurance arm, started. Over the course of the 18 years, we discovered that one of our greatest niche was partnerships. And just starting with the KTDA partnership, we grew, we ended up getting telco partnerships. We worked with MFIs and started growing our customer base around health, climate, and digital like embedding of products. So I think the key learning was that we got in accidentally, but then now we ended up having a completely separate strategy for this market that has been pretty good and worked for us.
Oh, amazing, amazing. So as much as you got in accidentally, you got in accidentally by pursuing what really the customer wants and trying to please them in terms of satisfying their needs.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
kudos to KTDA for pushing you, because without them, wouldn't be having this right now. And imagine it's 2.5 million people right now under your cover. So it's amazing,
Yeah.
given that it came from an idea that a client was the one who pushed you to this side. So it also shows how it's important to be able to listen to customers and also to also
Mhm.
just try and pursue what exactly they're looking for. So that shows also Britam when it comes to customer delivery and also listening to your clients. It means you really pursue that, which is an amazing thing. So kudos to you for that. Now, my other question would be regarding also the same. So what you've been able to achieve is amazing in terms of what you've done. And also a lot of other insurers are out here trying to say they can be able to serve the low income household, but they're struggling to work or do this to work out commercially. And that is something we've been able to see. So the question becomes, how does Britam connect and make the inclusive insurance viable business? And also not just an initiative in terms of how you do it, because most people come in, but over time it's like it can't be able to make profit. It's just like something you initiate and then it dies there. So how have you been able to do this and be able to pivot to make sure that this is good for the books too?
Yeah. Maybe a story we don't talk often at Britam is that in the initial years of inclusive insurance at Britam, we made severe losses. And I think for the first 6 years, there was a point where the company really questioned whether this big bet that we had put in investments in was going to sink us or was it going to be good for us? Um, but it came to the board and the management at that time where there was this vision that Britam needed to go outside of the traditional case. And that was the time when M-Pesa was coming up. That was the time when equity was coming up. So they did see that there is potential in this inclusive insurance space. What it meant is that there was a lot of effort and interventions, especially in the kind of products we were selling, to try and structure them into more commercially viable solutions instead of just running CSR or just providing payments to clients for the sake of making those payments. So that was one thing that really drove. The second thing is that the business realized that for inclusive insurance to really grow at Britam, you needed to have your own almost independent company or unit. So that meant that you needed to create a whole insurance company within the business, just focusing on inclusive insurance. So that meant that you had your own GM, you had your own salesperson, your own underwriting and claims person, so that you wouldn't be confusing. Like the people who are there would be dedicated just to microinsurance, and so would have more incentive to drive. They also made sure that we had a separate P&L, which made us more accountable. So any income you were receiving is what you were using to pay your expenses, your rent, your staff costs. And so like in the end, having this separation really drove the inclusive insurance to what it has been today. Yeah.
Oh, amazing. So it sounds like your first year was really brutal because things were like not going the way you wanted. But I like the way you're saying it, that the leadership really sat down and looked at it and they were able to understand you guys. And instead of normally the thing is usually if something doesn't work out, it's like, oh, let's wrap this up and then go for another
Yeah,
thing.
shut it
So
down. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So for you guys, it was like, okay, what is not working? What do we do better? And they doubled down. Like you mentioned now, it was like you're given your own NLP and then you're given everybody to be able to run it. So amazing, amazing way to be able to manage things in terms of if people are going through challenges and be able to now
Yeah.
come back and support them even more. So that's great. And then you guys were able to steer the ship well. And now look at it. You guys are having 2.5 million people. So that's amazing. And it's really good to hear about that. And we really need to hear more about these stories so people really appreciate what people are doing, right? Like for
Yeah.
you guys,
True.
pushing
True.
these and then being able to support people is really amazing. So thank you for that. And thank you for being able to tell this story to the world so that they can understand exactly what you went through. So amazing.
Yeah,
Thank you for that. Yeah.
definitely.
So I'd like to pivot now to Lea Mama, right? So again, Britam have Lea Mama. And I like just us to, even before we get into the nitty-gritties of that, I like to understand exactly what Britam Lea Mama is. So just walk us through what Lea Mama is in terms of how it works and also the problem that it's designed to solve.
So I can start with a bit of background on how we reached there. So we've been running a health book for I think 10 plus years, and just doing a data analysis on the health book, we saw that there was an issue with our maternity, I would say, claims, where we were having a very high readmission rate. So you'd find that for every 100 moms that were being like they were delivering at the hospitals, you'd get like either 3 or 4 readmissions. So that means there are complications that arose. And when we compared that to the Kenyan benchmark, it was really high. So it made us think, is there something that we can try and figure out to reduce this rate? This is when the discussions on Lea Mama began. So Lea Mama is actually a maternal value-based healthcare program. What it is that we focus more on the outcomes of the mom and the baby, and not necessarily just paying a fee to a hospital for whatever costs the mom goes through. And how this is structured is that we realized that there was an education problem within our book. When we talked to the moms, some of them didn't know how many antenatal screenings they should attend. And then there was also very low follow-up from the hospitals, especially after delivery. And in some cases, you'd find that the mom had either a predisposed condition which affected her outcome at delivery. So this program is structured in 3 ways. The first one is a 24/7 like pregnancy companion. So this is a platform being offered by Jacaranda called Prompts Platform, where it's a two-way SMS platform. Every day, the mom receives educative material tracking her journey. And then she's able to report any issues. She can ask questions through the SMS. And in case there are instances of maybe emergencies, the platform is able to pick that up. The second thing is like almost behavioral nudges that are set through the journey. So when the mom finishes her 8 antenatal screenings, then there's some gifts that she receives. When she delivers at the hospital, these are gifts that she receives. So it's like almost like keeping moms continuously updated. And then lastly is we work with hospitals to have an outcome-based financing model. In this case is that we reward hospitals for having positive outcomes. So let's say if you go to hospital ABC and you find that they've not had any complication rates, they've had low cesarean section rates, the level of outcomes for the mom have always been positive, then there's an additional payout that Britam makes to the hospital to
Oh,
be able to
amazing.
really reward them for being able to take care of the mom through the pregnancy journey. Yeah.
Oh, that's great. That's great. So yeah, so Lea Mama basically empowers women, pregnant women specifically, uh,
Yeah.
through being able to give them knowledge and also keeping data of how their pregnancy is going forward and also be able to communicate with institutions that maybe they are using, right? And that is really
Yeah.
amazing in terms of what it's doing because again, look at it. It's like you're protecting the future. So these are our unborn babies and mothers, without the right knowledge of basically the dieting, when you're supposed to go to the hospital and all that, it becomes harder for even the delivery to come through in a safe way. So you might find that yes, the delivery comes through, but because you're not dieting or not taking the right precautions, the baby has some effects and all that. And then you also have incentives for hospitals. So I mean, you're doing a lot, which is really good to the society, and kudos for that because that is really amazing. Because I mean with Britam, we can say our future is secured because I mean our children are the future. So you're doing a great job on that. So you've mentioned Lea Mama. You've also mentioned prompts. So at the heart of Lea Mama is prompts, and basically you've also touched on it's being built by Jacaranda Health. So basically, it's an
Yeah.
AI-enabled digital health service. So how does the AI actually work in practice, and how does a pregnant mother experience look like from enrollment to delivery?
So it's a very simple enrollment process. The mom just has to type Lea Mama and send an SMS to the number 21884. You just use the normal SMS, not WhatsApp, and immediately you get registered. So they will ask, are you a Britam client? Then you say yes. Then you have a second a level where they ask you about your Britam health insurance number. Once you've input it, then automatically become part of the program. Every day you receive messages. So for instance, if I were pregnant, they will ask me questions around how far I am. They will ask me questions around when was my last antenatal screening, how many I've done, and then they'll start tailoring messages based on that. Through the course of the period, because you get this service from the time you find out you're pregnant up till 6 months after your baby is born.
Oh,
So
so
each
after
time,
delivery, you're still using, interesting.
yes. So each day I receive the messages, but I'm also responding. I could ask questions, and there's someone who responds to me. But there are cases where you find that the mom is undergoing either distress or she's going through some danger signs. So this is where the AI platform comes in, is that I could say I am bleeding or I am not breathing. The AI is able to pick certain danger words, I would say, and immediately triage that client to be called by Jacaranda Health to be able to seek services at the nearest hospital close to them. So the AI is actually more of like being able to pick the very critical words that could be happening. We would assume that I am not breathing, I'm not breathing well, like
Mhm.
you're expecting someone to respond after 2 hours, but this one immediately it's triaged up into to be an emergency case, and then immediately you're able to seek service.
Oh, interesting, interesting. So I start by the first place where you've mentioned you don't really need a smartphone to be able to access this, right? So pegging this
Yeah,
back to inclusive insurance, it's really like at the backbone of Britam is like you're really pushing that narrative of you want the whole community to be insured, right? And this
yeah,
time round is like if I'm a mother. If I don't have a smartphone, still I can still access it. So it's not really like because it's
yeah,
AI, you need a smartphone. You can be able to access this from that, and that's
exactly,
really amazing in terms of
exactly.
that. Yeah, and then the other thing that you've mentioned that is interesting is that it's not that after you've delivered, now it's done. You also go further in terms of now just making sure you're with the mother up to month 6 there. So that's really interesting.
Yeah,
That's amazing in terms of that. So you're doing really a fantastic job with that. And so with that, I wanted to know, first of all, so we know with inclusive insurance, the first year was really brutal for you. The program has delivered some impressive results early on compared to what you had with inclusive insurance. So what I'd like to understand is how are you measuring success? And then what has been something that has surprised you the most about the outcome so far?
So, where in most of our inclusive insurance initiatives, you would have measured the like number of customers we reached. Here we had to look at it from a deeper level. We had to look at the outcomes of our customers. So we started tracking like the health outcomes. So we would ask them about the experiences through the pregnancy, but at the same time, we'd also be tracking like the post-delivery complications. We'd tracking the CS rates, the cesarean section rates, because it's an indicative feature, miscarriage rates, as well as just like the NPS rate to see whether we were doing a good job as Britam. One of the things that really surprised us was that the lack of education is real, especially for moms or even dads. And so what we did on top of the prompts platform, we opened our WhatsApp community. And guess what? Like we had both men and women in that WhatsApp community. So where you'd expect that,
Interesting.
so where you'd expect that it's only moms who are interested, but you'd find dads like really being participating and asking questions. And so we had to really make it more inclusive. Even with some of the webinars we would
Yeah.
hold, we'd have like both the person talking about how the mom is supposed to take care of herself, also like talking about how the dad is supposed to take care of the mom and the baby. So that was very surprising
Mhm.
for us. Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's interesting in terms of as men coming in and also just being curious, get to support your partner through
Yeah.
the whole journey. So I like that. I like that. And I also wanted to
Yeah.
ask, in terms of this lack of knowledge that
Mhm.
moms were having in terms of at that time, also fathers don't know about. Are these first-time moms or these are moms who've already had?
It's even moms who already had children. So
Ah,
what you
okay,
just
okay.
realize that each pregnancy seems to be different for people. And
Mm,
what we started doing, especially in the WhatsApp community, because this is where people can interact a lot, is that we'd open it up for conversations maybe on a Saturday night. And people would be asking questions around, this is what I'm experiencing, how do I go about it? So it becomes like a nice, vulnerable forum for people to share. So
yeah.
like it's for all moms, first time moms and second time moms. Yeah.
Yeah, great, great, great. So yeah, that's really amazing. Now I like to pivot a little bit. So we've seen already so far, the one thing that is really standing out is how Britam is really pushing for insurance penetration in the market, right? Through
Mm-hmm.
inclusive insurance, where you're just making sure that even if your income is not that great, you still can get insured. And then there's the other side, we have moms who are going through their pregnancy and they might need more information. Like you've mentioned, you find that you might be assuming everybody knows about information that they require when they are pregnant, but now you find out, oh, so we are doing something amazing in terms of just empowering them, giving them knowledge. You're even being surprised. Oh, so also men really support their women very well in terms of doing that, right? So I like to look
Yeah.
into now a different angle of now Britam and how it is building partnerships with others. And basically, more broadly, we've seen how you've been able to build partnerships with telcos, you've been able to build partnerships with fintechs, insurtechs, and also developing development agencies across your insurance portfolio. So the question becomes now, what makes a partnership work in this space, and what makes one fail?
That's a good one. I think each time we are approaching a partner, we have to look at the kind of partner that you're working with. What we realize that different partners have different interests. So if you're working with an intermediary, insurance intermediary, really their main concern is on commission. Like once that is done, they're fine. But let's say if you're working with a telco or a fintech, they have a completely separate business model. So they have their core business. And the first thing is that they don't want you to interfere with their business. And the second thing is that they don't want you to antagonize their clients. So they want
Yeah.
to make sure that they can extract as much value from that partnership as they can for their clients. They don't even care about the commissions that you're paying them. They're really more concerned about, well, we
Yeah.
have been able to spend this amount of money being paid to Britam. How much value have our customers really gotten from this engagement?
Mm.
When we talk about development agencies, if you think about what their intention is to really have as much impact as possible. And you could find that they're working with very small budgets and they'd want to get as much reach as possible, but also at the time when it matters the most. So you have to look at the level of impact, and impact is not just the number of customers that you onboard, but also how much are you paying as claims and at what time. So for instance, for climate insurance, they're really most concerned about getting value when there's intense floods or when there's intense drought. At least you're making sure that there's some level of payout to the households that they're serving. Yeah. So
Yeah.
it's really
Okay.
it's very different depending on the partner.
Okay, great, great. I just mentioned something that now leads us to the next conversation, which is to do with climate insurance, right? So
Mm.
you, as part of Britam and Britam being a market leader, again in this sector, you've come up with the first one again. So Britam Connect has built Britam Mafuriko. And I saw this and I was like, yo, I need this because you know what is happening in Nairobi right now. You might go out there and then the story changes because hey, it rained. So yeah, this
Yeah.
is really interesting. I didn't know about it until we organized for these podcasts, and I was like, okay, let me go and check it out. So I think you now understand the East African environment where
Yeah.
flood insurance products have all been here. So currently, you've built a product that uses satellite data and river levels to trigger automatic payouts. For me, it's just mind-boggling. So I just wanted to know is how did you come about with this, and then what has the impact been like so far?
So believe it or not, that this product was actually built by the community. So um, when
Yeah.
you were venturing into the climate insurance space, because we're like 3 years old in this space, we were like, there's something which we haven't seen in the market, like flood insurance. Everyone is selling drought insurance. So can we look at what we can do? So we picked like the hotspot locations, which is Kisumu area, Tana River, and Kilifi. And we did surveys with community organizations, with just like different households. So we got our insights, and we saw that the place that suffers the most is Tana River. We went back to Tana River and we asked about, okay, what causes these floods? They're like, well, it's actually the River Tana that causes the floods. And they're like, is there a way in which you can tell when there's going to be a flood event? And they said that we normally look at this river gauge, and when it reaches a certain level, we immediately know that there's going to be a flood event. So we used that metric to
Oh,
build a product, and we said that. So we went back to the custodian of the river gauge, which is the Water Resource Authority. We're able to look at 20 years of data, and we're able to craft this solution. And just like that, the product was developed. In the
mm.
first year of pilot, we were able to cover 300 households, all paid by Oxfam. And
300 household,
we had, yeah, 300
the first.
households, yeah. The
Oh,
first, yeah.
oh, oh,
So within 2 or 3
great.
months, we had made a 100% claim payout to the households. So it sparked a
Amazing.
lot of interest in the area. And
Mm.
we had to go back and find a way, okay, how do we scale this program? We've just gone back this year. And just before, because we were selling the product between February, just before the beginning of the rainy season, we got 3,000 households, and they all paid their premium, all of
Oh,
them. So
I mean, because
we,
this is a
so
solution that
yeah,
they need, because it's a no-brainer for
they
them. It's like, yes.
exactly, exactly. So we're realizing that I think the main thing about this program was what helped us a lot has been making that initial payout. But there's also a dark side to it is that they are expecting that there's a payout each time. So you have to always find a way to manage that
Mhm.
with the customers. And sometimes
Yeah.
it's in even
The
when there's no
expectations.
payout, is there some cash, cash back they can have so that they don't feel like they wasted their money on insurance.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
That is very important because at the end of the day, it's like if it didn't help me, so where's my money and all
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
And
yeah,
especially
yeah.
when you're dealing with people that maybe cannot comprehend the whole insurance and how it operates becomes
Insurance.
a
Yeah,
challenge.
yeah.
Yeah.
And also the vulnerability level, because sometimes it's a very poor county, to be honest. So you have to be
Yeah.
conscious about how you are extracting
You're extracting
value, but
value from
also
them.
commercial viability from
Yeah.
them. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. So with that, again, I'm realizing something about Britam. It's part of your culture. So one, when it came to KTDA, right? As a client, they
Mm.
give you feedback. You ended up with a product that specifically they recommended, they wanted, and you went back to them like, so here's your product. You not just done desktop research, you even get to understand how do they themselves the reverse change and everything, and you had to plug that in terms of being able to make sure that you're able to provide everything for them that suits them. So I'm realizing that for Britam right now, customer feedback is really key in terms of how you operate, right? And that is
Yeah.
something that is like part of how you operate your things. So I'd also like now
Yeah.
to ask about, go back to KTDA. So the
Mm.
KTDA T Pharma insurance product was based on the customer research, right? And you also designed this. So from moving funeral only benefit to comprehensive cover, uh, what is what is that process? What does that process teach you, specifically about the gap between what an insurer thinks customer need and what actually they need? Because again, it goes back to the Britam culture
Mm.
where I really get feedback and sit down with it, digress through it, get the nitty-gritties, and come up with something good.
Yeah. I would say that number one, we need to realize that there's an information gap in the market on insurance. So within first cover, the one that got 30,000 signups,
Yeah.
it was a funeral insurance only product. It might have been how it was sold, because after a year of um, after a year of usage, we had the numbers drop to 3,000 signups. Why?
Okay.
Because people say, well,
Hmm.
I'm not gonna use this product until I'm dead, right? So they're like, is there a way, like,
It
is
was
there
of no
something
use
else?
to me when I'm alive.
Yeah, exactly. So they're like, is there something can create for me and my family? And that's how
Yeah.
the hospitalization benefit came up.
Uh,
It meant
oh.
a slightly higher price, but that from there was a really huge uptake because not only
Hmm.
were you mostly selling to the older population, now you're even targeting young people who knew they could be hospitalized. So for a period of about 17 years, that went very well until we found that there was a slowdown in the uptake.
Yeah.
And we went back to the market to ask, why aren't you guys buying this product anymore? And they said, well, this product, it doesn't work for me anymore. I need to be able to go to the hospital for any case of illness. I don't need to be admitted for me to use it. There's also a lot of changes in the National Healthcare Fund. So that meant that there were some significant changes on affordability of the product. So we had to go back to the drawing board and see what more can we offer beyond that. Came back with an outpatient product, one which we tested, and we've also seen quite a huge uptake. So I think one of
Yeah.
the things that we are realizing is that, first of all, the customer needs are changing. Education is realizing that whatever you could be selling may not be what is the farmer is understanding. So you have to be very deliberate to go back to ask why like are you enjoying this product, etc. And
Yeah.
most important is that as an insurer, you should not enjoy having very low loss ratios because that means that your customers are not really extracting value from the product you're selling. And the
It's a
moment you
red flag.
have that, you need to go back and ask the customers, what more can we do to support you, you know?
I like how Britam is like, as much as you're making profits and you guys are making good profits, right? That's not what really
Yeah,
matters. It goes back to, okay, does our client really see value? Okay. And if they're seeing value,
yeah,
what else can we even add on that to make them happy? Here is where
yeah.
you've given us situations of where you have a product, it sells well, and then the next time it dips. And it's not like, okay, there's anything else we can, you go back to the client and ask them, okay, so what is happening here? And then you go back to the product and iterate that product to make sure that it fits the client. So I mean, that is so amazing, and I like that. I like that about you. So I'll go into now pivot a little bit into data technology, and let's look at
Yeah.
what's driving real impact, right? So you've already seen from what you've told us already that technology and data is central to how you design and deliver your products. And across all the portfolios that we've also mentioned here, from Lea Mama to Mafuriko to even your broader portfolio itself. So, where has technology made the biggest difference in the inclusive insurance, if you may? And then where is it still falling short? Because I've seen technology really is doing a lot, but I think also there are places where it might be falling short. You feel there's room for improvement.
I think I would say technology has helped a lot internally in streamlining the processes. So this means that this faster onboarding, there are less people having to do manual work, this faster claims processing. So using even robotic processes to be able to do like very quick invoice processing and settlement to the hospitals. Um, I would say there has been a bit of work on distribution, but we still see a gap for on technology and distribution. Number one is insurance is still a very much sold product. So as much as you can put your product on a platform or on an USSD or on an app, none is going to willingly, Melvin, you're not going to willingly wake up and say, I really want to buy insurance today and go and buy
Yeah,
insurance.
yeah,
There
yeah,
has to be
true.
an agent pestering you to buy insurance. So despite having technology, you have to couple that with some person who is there to explain the product to the customer because of just how complex it can be. But at the same time, I would say some of the challenges we are seeing with technology has been access. We see very beautiful platforms and systems that can work for us. But when you ask this person, can this platform be accessed on USSD or on SMS? They're like, no. And just like that, you've already closed off a huge chunk of the population. Because many
Yeah,
people don't
yeah.
have smartphones. Many people are using user phones, feature phones. And the worst part is that people share those feature phones. So I could be me and my neighbor. I just have a SIM card, and every 5 p.m. I go to my neighbor's house to be able to see what messages I have received today, and then I take back my SIM card. So there has to be that conscious effort to increase the level of access to some of this very beautiful technology through getting to understand, is there a way we can use SMS and USSD more to support them to have this service.
Thank you for that. So basically, internally, in terms of your workflows and automation of some of the tasks, technology has been good for you. But now, when it comes to now distribution and also inclusive and also access to others, it's become a challenge. And also, you said
Yeah.
something that I was arguing with people the other day in terms of the
Yeah.
human touch, right? You know, sales is also you need to have that human touch. So you can get
Yeah.
access to the product is on my face, but I'm like, I need somebody to come
Yeah.
and decipher this for me before I buy it, or somebody to
Yeah.
push me. So that is actually true in terms of technology. It's self-limiting in those ways. And yeah, we
Yeah.
might maybe in future have better ways in terms of doing it. But for now, that is a little bit a challenge or something that we can't do right now. So on the bigger
Yeah.
picture, just looking at again inclusive insurance. So scaling inclusive insurance across Africa, right? Um, if you're advising an insurer in another African market, and they wanted to build an inclusive insurance portfolio from scratch. given that you have gone through all these, the blood, sweat, and tears of the whole process. You've told us about your first year and how challenging it was and how you had good support systems. What would you advise in terms of where would you tell them to start?
I think the first thing is I would say start small. Don't be so ambitious in trying to conquer a million people. Just say
Baby
that you
steps.
want to, yeah, start small. Go
Mm,
start in a market or an
mm,
association or a cooperative. Then get the right product market fit. Because sometimes that's the main challenge. You could be selling a product that is not relevant to whoever you're selling. Once you have this right product market fit, then it's easy for you to scale to even other similar target markets. I'll give an
yeah,
example. Selling, I would say, like personal accident cover to someone to an MSME might not make sense to them because at no point
yeah,
have they had an accident. But to a border rider, that's an everyday thing. They know a friend or they know a relative or someone who has had an accident and they've had to make huge, like have to suffer a lot of loss of income due to that.
yeah,
So
yeah.
once you get that right product market fit, it's much easier to scale and to get to
Mm,
your millions of customers that
yeah.
you'd want to.
I like that. I like that. It's the best way to go because start with a niche or start small, like you've said. Get to understand exactly if this is something that is really uh, the market needs. Because again, like they say, the market is brutal. You might have all the best ideas out here on your desk. When you go out there, there's nobody who's looking at your product
Yeah,
aggressively or even
yeah,
wanting to spend money on it. So it's very important you first get that most viable product market fit, like you've said. So get that feedback from the client, get to understand you're really solving something, right? Then before you can scale it. So I like that. So I think if somebody takes that blueprint that you've given right now in any market in Africa, they can be able to come up with something that can be able to help them in terms of scaling and also solving the problem of impact. Because at the end of the day, the people you want to impact will have to use the product. So they have to give you their feedback in terms of what exactly works for them. So I love that
yeah.
about that. Thank you so much for that. Now, on closing, given that we've almost done with this, I like to understand let's be futuristic in terms of what we're looking at, right? So 5 years ahead, so far you've gone through that whole process of building the inclusive insurance. So that journey, what does it look like in Kenya in the next 5 years? Is the industry getting this right? If everything 5 years ahead from now, how does that look like?
So I think what we're seeing, at least from my end, is that the industry is getting very interested in inclusive insurance. Where 15 years ago we were the only player. Right now we are almost six companies registered as microinsurance entity in Kenya. So that means that there's a lot more players in the game, which is good. It's good for competition. It also makes sure that we are providing value to our customers. On the demand side, there's a lot of potential that we need to, we're just like really cracking right now. We've barely scratched the surface. There's a lot more for us to do in unlocking this inclusive insurance, and we have to do things that are extremely radical for us to be able to get there. I
Radical, you
can't do it
say.
as Lisa. Yeah, I can't sit at Lisa at Britam Tower and think I'm going to scratch that surface. I really have to get to the ground and be able to move things and do things differently, such that we're able to get in touch with the market. So, in what I see in 5 years, that there'd be a lot more need for insurance. Um, and hopefully there'll be enough supply for it and access that will have improved access of insurance.
I love that. I love that. Thank you for painting that picture. So basically, the future has more demand for insurance. It's just to make sure that we also have enough supply for the same.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I think it looks good in terms of being able to penetrate the market. So Lisa, this has been fun. Thank you so much for making time for this. I've really learned a lot in terms of one, the products that you guys have built, the journey itself, and also how I can be able to replicate this. If I'm in another market in Africa that I want to do this, I can be able to do it. I've really learned a lot in terms of inclusive insurance, whereby right now it's not just that you need money to be able to be covered. It doesn't matter that anymore. And I really appreciate you. It's been fun. So kudos. Yeah,
Thank
that's
you.
us.
It's also been really good. Thank you, Melvin.